Agency is this permission we give ourselves to act. We need more personal agency. I act because I want to, because I know what I want to do. Collective agency is really when your community has given some element of assent. This is what we want to do. Collective agency, collective power lies in that recognition that we are in alignment.
Hi there. Welcome to the Empowered and Embodied Show. I'm Kim Romain.
And I'm Louise Neil. We're two transformational coaches who are also fellow travelers on the path of growth and self-discovery. And we're inviting you along for the ride.
That's right. We're right here in the trenches with you, navigating the ups and downs of life. And each week we'll be sharing our own experiences, bringing you conversations with amazing guests, and exploring insights and strategies that have helped us find more clarity, confidence, and ease in our lives.
And trust us, we do not have it all figured out. We're learning and growing right alongside you.
So if you're ready to rise above the chaos, doubt, and confusion that sometimes life throws our way,
and step into a more empowered and embodied version of yourself,
then you're in the right place. Let's get started. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Empowered and Embodied Show. I am one of your co-hosts, as always, Kim Romain, joined by the lovely and the wonderful.
Lovely and wonderful. I got two adjectives today.
You
Thanks.
did.
Yep. Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Louise, and we have such an amazing special guest that's joining us today.
My name is Krystal Rawls.
Krystal, we are so excited to have you here and to have this conversation with you today. I'm going to tell the world just a little bit about you, and then we're going to dive into our juicy conversation. So Dr. Rawls is a systems strategist, educator, and workforce futurist whose work centers on equity, agency, and institutional change. As director of the Workforce Integration Network at California State University, Dominguez Hills, Dr. Rawls leads large-scale initiatives that bridge digital access, economic mobility, and community empowerment. Her expertise spans organizational behavior, change management, and digital equity, with a focus on how identity and agency shape the way individuals engage systems and transform them. A passionate advocate for untapped talent and emergent leadership, Dr. Rawls brings sharp insight and deep compassion to every conversation. We are so glad that you're here in conversation with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with both you and Louise, and of course, your wonderful audience.
You know what, Kim, as Kim was reading your bio, Krystal, it's that how we make all of those things, like you were talking about big things in there, right? Like workforce and organizational and like really big things. And what I was attracted to is like, how do we make that individual? Like, how do we bring that back to the people, and who are the people in those systems? And how do we look after the folks and care for them in that way? That's what stood out to me. And I was getting excited.
Well, thank you. I'm glad that what I do excites you. A lot of people just say, wait, you do what? So that's great. And the fact of the matter is, I do work at a nice little intersection, right? Workforce development, higher education, systems meet people right there. Systems are comprised of people. This is not a separate conversation. It's a little bit more of the forest for the trees kind of conversations. We just address it at different levels. All systems are people powered. So they're not separate. They're just different layers or levels of approach.
A lot of people are talking about the system. We know there's multiple systems, but a lot of people are talking about the system these days. How do we as people approach systems that feel like they're so big we can't even imagine making inroads?
Yeah, that it feels kind of hard these days, especially, right? But let's just, even if we step back to my description, systems are comprised of people. So it's not us as an individual responsible for addressing these systems. It is collective impact, collective empowerment. So you go find your people, you go find your tribe, and you sit within that nest and that nest will flourish, and you will find other people who understand your way of thinking. And when you link arms together, you're not a sole quiet voice anymore. You are now leading systems change. So it is very, very individual level work. And part of that, not part of it, all of it starts with recognizing that the system is not bigger than the people, it's made up of the people. So we absolutely have agency.
That description that you gave around instead of feeling small and powerless, right, and fighting like the big thing, to find others and to find community so that it amplifies what that is that you're putting out. So it feels like a different kind of energy that is happening, because I was getting like fight the system, right? And then as you're talking, Chris, I was like, no, like, how do we lock arms? So where do we find those folks to lock arms with? How do we build our own systems?
So, community. There are some communities that have moved away from community as social impact. There are some communities that have not. They lead in collective at all times. We know these, in academia, right? The collectivist people. So these things exist. They've existed before these official systems that oppress. These are communities. They're your neighbors. They're people who have the same concerns that you do. So it's not really a matter of a deep hunt to go find them. Look around. They're right there next to you. Some of them are in your homes and sometimes they're not. There's a little saying, it's like, right, the family that you're born into and then the family that you make. This is the family that you make. You find those like-minded folks, right? There's chats, there's group chats. The internet is great for bringing together like-minded people today. And then we remember that we are a community first, and then we are a community that impacts systems. So we take care of self, we take care of our internal communities, and then we take care of our external communities, and then we concern ourselves with the greater elements of society. But by the time you get to that kind of systems thinking, you've already done the work. You already have the network, you already have the community, you have your people, your tribe, etc., and you're not alone anymore. Now you're talking collective voice.
It's so aligned, right, with the work. And I think when you and I had our first conversation, there was a lot of alignment there. It's absolutely the work that I do, right? We have to step into our own agency. We have to lean into that before we can lean into the other parts. And that's what, the more of us that are doing this work, the more we push this forward, the more the collective and therefore the systems change.
Absolutely.
But let's talk about those words for like just a second, because I want to unpack. Louise and I are word geeks here. So personal and collective agency. What do those words even mean?
So let's break that down, right?
Yeah.
Let's start with agency, because most people can kind of vibe with the idea of personal as a unit. But agency is this permission we give ourselves to act. There's the definition. So we need one, personal agency. Some people have an internal agency, right? I act because I want to, because I know what I want to do, and I'm out there, and there's that. But then there are other people who need permission to act. And we've really trained our society for those type of people. In high school, you raise your hand to go use a bodily function, right? You ask permission to go to the bathroom. So we don't cultivate personal agency within our systems, but we do within our communities, right? We talk to our parents. We try to learn from them. The older people or elder people teach us how to do the things we didn't know how to do, or they give advice or what have you, right? So personal agency is really giving yourself that permission. Collective agency is really when your community has given some element of assent, like, yeah, this is what we want to do. Collective agency, collective power lies in that recognition that we are in alignment. This is what we're doing here today, folks. Let's go, right? But before you can be part of that collective, like you just mentioned, first there has to be that element of personal recognition. This is what I want to do. This is where I stand on the subject. In my community, the way I get there is I talk to the other people around me that I trust, right? My friends, my family, etc. And I negotiate conversations throughout our whole lifetimes. This is not a one-day thing, y'all, right? You have relationships that help you form your own identity. So this is how I figure out what I want out of life. I talk to my people. Do I want that PhD or do I want to stop at my master's? No, I wanted that PhD. That was a collective decision. I didn't need their permission. I needed their input so that I could make a decision. So they work lockstep, right? We talk, we share, we build a collective perception of how we want to move forward. And once we've all agreed that this is what we're doing, now we have collective impact. Now we have the super voice or the majority working with us. And we are not alone. We are never alone.
And yet so many people are feeling so alone right now.
Yeah, and that is unfortunate. It is truly unfortunate because we come from a society that says things like rugged individualism, and the reality of all history is that it took a whole bunch of people to make that boat roll across the ocean, right? That was not one person. It took a whole bunch of people to build a community or to raise homes or whatever it is that we do that make us civilized in society. Very, very little gets done as an individual in our society. So it's one of those myths that nation builders use, but it really doesn't have a lot to do with the reality of being a human on a planet with other people.
Yeah, it is interesting how we a lot of us, I don't want to say everyone, but a lot of us like tend to say like, I need to figure this part out on my own, or like there's almost like this script that we hear and say over and over again to ourselves is like that we can't tap into collective wisdom, or we can't tap into our community because it's boiled down to like, if you can't figure this out, then that's trouble. Like, then we don't tap into the collective wisdom. We don't use it, but we also don't contribute to it either, because we have this very isolated, what the word is, like focus or mentality.
It is what I'm hearing. Yeah.
Yeah,
We're all
that's a
in these
very
little silos.
Western. Yeah, that's just a very Western way of thinking. It's not universal. It's just not even within the United States. There are quite a few people, groups that do not operate that way. They operate with their base as the collective. There are family conversations before it ever gets outside the door. So yes, there is way too much of this rugged individualist kind of language, but that's a system speaking down to the people. That's when we choose choice, agency, when we choose to allow someone else's voice to dictate how we walk. So I know, Kim, you and I had this chat about, right, even the title, Empowered and Embodied, right, of this idea that everybody doesn't walk in a deficit lens. Everybody, right, there's different ways people choose to engage society. And in order to be empowered, we have to choose to listen to ourselves before we listen to people who are trying to profit off of our labor, who are trying to consume us, body, soul, and spirit, right? Like, why would we privilege a system dictating our identity and then say, oh, but they're right? No, they are not. Imposter syndrome, my foot, they are wrong. Your people, talk to your people. They will help you figure out who you are, not a system who knows nothing about you and just wants to consume you.
And there's a clear distinction there that I think people mistake because of the world we live in right now, right? You can get on whatever app you want to get on, right? Any quote unquote social media app, even the networking ones, right? Any of them. And you immediately feel like, because you've had a little going back and forth, or you followed somebody for a while and they're talking right to you, that you know them and they know you. and they have your best interests at heart. They don't know you.
Right.
You know you, your people know you.
Yeah.
And so getting those, one of Louise's favorite words, these data points, loves data, getting all these data points together and saying, okay, now that I've heard from myself, I've heard from those who are great sounding boards for me. Now I can make an embodied, aligned decision for myself.
You
But it's
nailed
not
it.
because of some guru in some app telling you something. And it's not from some system telling you something.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's a big differential there.
As a matter of fact, if the system is telling you something different from what you're feeling, or you're feeling uncomfortable, I would be challenging that system. I would be asking questions. That's empowerment. Like, open your mouth and ask the question, right? So it takes practice. You don't start here because there's so many, when you're young, there's so many unknowns. You don't know where the line is, right? That's an experience. That's just being young. We're going to have that forever. There's going to be some trepidation about how do we engage with life. But if we start with the premise that we were born free to think, to use these beautiful minds, and that systems are constructs meant to corral or, cohesion for people, for societies, for borders, that's not actually about life and living. That's about coexisting within a structure that someone else has created. Our families, how we were born with our minds to challenge, to speak, to communicate, that's about us. That's what we should be practicing, speaking, talking to our people, and then we go practice on others. See how it feels.
Yeah. Isn't that though sometimes the water that we're in or the air that we breathe? Like oftentimes, like we don't even know. Like Kim, you're talking about, right, social media, and it's like, oh, that person knows me, or that thing must solve my problems because that's my problem. And so it's just like it's all around us that it takes, like, does it take something special to break out of that? Or like how do we like stop drinking the water?
So some people won't stop drinking the water because it's easy, and thinking is hard, learning is hard, growing is hard. You literally stretch, right? Like, these are things, means you can't stay where you are. You have to be open, and all people are not comfortable with that, and all people do not want that. So we have to accept that reality. Everybody's not trying to fix it. Some people are content to be where they are, and we need to be content with leaving them where they are and focusing on our growth and what we can control, right? So here we're having what I'm hearing are these two different levels of conversation. One is system and one is individual. And frankly, we have to place system where it sits in our reality. Some people don't influence or interact with systems in a way that they need to be concerned with today. They need to work on themselves, what they want out of their life, and really do that research. Make sure you know what you want, and then you can go and interact with these systems and you tell them what you want. So how do we get there? If that's what we want, but we're not necessarily positioned for that, that is practice. That's where our friends and family and networks come in. That is what we in academia will call social capital. We can call it informational capital. I love calling it a data point, because when you collect all of your experiences as data points, you can see the balance quite clearly. Have you ever played that game where they're like, yes on this side, no on this side, and you make hash marks to tally it, like when you're making decisions? It's a visual representation of what you want and what you need. I love that. I love that little kind of quick hash mark, like, do I want to do this or no? Is this not valuable enough to me? So it's a personal decision and practice to be comfortable with ourselves, our wants, our needs, our family, our communities, and then how our communities impact society. It really is a continuum, but some things in society, not my business. I'm not here to tell, for example, men that they should do literally anything in life except not harass women, because that impacts me, right? Like, I don't know what it means to be a man. I just don't. So I opt out of opinions on certain things, and I focus on the things that I can control, that I can influence, that I care about, or that impact me and my people.
It's like being empowered in action, right? Like we can have these thoughts or have these ideas of right of like of autonomy, but and then what? Right? Like let's put it into action. That's why it's data, right? It's like let's get that out there and then like let's see what happened and then let's do it again and let's see what happens differently. Like this is really what we're talking about is like let's take this to the next level and let's just not like do the you said I love that me search research. It's like let's not just stop there, right? Because now there's so much more. How do we take that into our families or our lives or our communities? Like the stuff that we're learning about ourselves, how do we test it with our community? How do we find our community even if we're not taking that and putting it into action or giving voice to it?
We have community rituals, almost every society, from the 15-year-old quinceañeras to the 13-year-old, what have yous. There's all these different elements of community within society that help us get signals on what our cultural expectations are. I feel like they're there and we don't listen well because we're trying to climb in the system, right? As though somehow that's going to fulfill our core needs, which it doesn't. It's not designed to do that. It's not about us, right? The systems are designed to feed themselves. So for me, it's more an idea of recognizing this is not something we have to learn to do. This is our core. This is our base. This is us as humans. We seek other humans to be in community, and then we dig wells, and then we build aqueducts, and then we build food. This is who we are at the core. We're just distracted by our very, like I said, it's where we live. It's how we live today, but it's not the base of humanity, right? It's a capitalist system herding people into feeding it. And that's what it is. But I bet somebody told stories at your house when you were young. They read books to the children. Like these things are happening in every household, political or not. We build our communities every day still. I mean, they're there. They're surrounding us and keeping us safe and warm. And when you don't have that, that's the isolation. That's what social media for a lot of people have given them, this idea that you can just go online and have community means that you're in your phone as opposed to the dinner table with the very people who are going to support you when you need that support, as opposed to the people who are trying to consume your intellectual property, your time, whatever. So, right, for example, even this platform, this medium right here, it can be used to bring people together. But if this is all you want to focus on, then you're excluding all of the humans around you who could put their arms around you and bring you into the collective in exchange for a proxy. So, right, systems and individuality can be impacted by technology, both for good or bad, but we have agency. We have choices. I choose to be on Empowered and Embodied as opposed to, making the rounds on social media. I don't care about them. I care about the people that you've described in your audience who might need to hear. You are already all the things you need to be. You got to recognize it. That's kind of full stop. Recognize your own power, and then use that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so interesting because I was listening to you and you were talking about isolation and I was like, yeah, because not that all of this started with the pandemic, but the pandemic and going into some form for many people much further into isolation than they had been before. Many by themselves that weren't used to being by themselves. And now we move forward only 5 short years, even though it feels like it was much longer ago than it was. Moving forward 5 years, as we're seeing the systems attempt to pull communities apart, people are feeling more isolated again. They're wanting to hide away and they're wanting to pull back. And yet what they're craving is exactly what you're talking about, somebody to put their arms around them, somebody to help them dig up their garden in the backyard so that they have food that's accessible to them right there. And it's fascinating to me from like this where I like to play is this very like zoomed out place of looking at why do people do what they do kind of over time and the arcs of time. And this learning and unlearning about being in community and how that is like this wave that keeps trying to gather people in, and then humans go and screw it up. It's like we're trying to improve on something that's just inherent in who we are.
So let's now elevate our individual conversation a little bit more toward the systems, because
Yeah.
that's where the systems, right? Again, everybody's not beginning their experience, right? I didn't start as a systems designer. I started as a teacher who got frustrated watching students who were absolutely able fail because they were juggling jobs, careers, schools, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. An individual saw her community struggling, an individual who has the ability to build systems, and then built a system to address what I saw happening. That's where organizations, folks like you two, right, where you hear a story, you hear a thing, and you say, let's bring this to the larger group so that they can benefit, right? So we build systems as individuals to bring our community together, to challenge the structures that say we have to be alone. Somebody's going to hear this and say, yeah, I don't have to, I can do, and it only takes one to go and, get that partner, and now that's two, and then you have your community. It's a build. It takes a spark sometimes, it takes permission sometimes external validation as opposed to community validation. But once that individual is sparked, they spark another. I was sparked by what I saw with my students and by personal experience when I was younger. And then I created programs for my students, and they've lived their lives, and many of them, right? It's been 5 years since I started my programming at my campuses. They're running systems now, right? This is how we build healthier systems. Sometimes it's ground up. Sometimes we get lucky and our foundations give us money to build better systems, but it's the empowerment grows with our understanding of our own power.
Say that again.
Our power grows with our understanding of our own power, right? Our own place. I am one, sure, but I am one filled and supported by others who listen to what I say and go, yes, or say that again, Dr. Rawls, or whatever, right? And then I go, we liked that. Let's lean in. How do we institutionalize? How do we operationalize? How do we make this accessible for others? Starts with one, and we build. And now I have a whole campus that does this work for our local community, for our society, right? I'm just one person, but there's hundreds of students. There's thousands of people listening to your podcasts, or with the ability to listen to your podcasts, and each one of them have power. I believe 7 million people decided to go to protests in March, right? Like lots of people are arguing about things, but how many are finding their tribe, their community, and saying, what does our collective voice think? How do we change systems together? Individual to society. It's a continuum.
Yeah. And, Krystal, as you're talking, it's like, and to me, that feels like true belonging, right? When I can find those people who amplify, who we together have that ability to grow, to have that collective autonomy, like that really does feel like belonging. Like as you're talking, I'm thinking about, oh yeah, like here's all the communities, like these are the communities that I want to be in, because of not only because we're aligned on so many things, but because I actually feel like I belong there. And so like that's the basis, I think, of like true belonging is, when we can do that, when we can find those communities and find those people, to be able to foster and grow that within us.
I hear hope because, and that's what I think people don't understand is it starts with one. It always starts with one. Maybe multiple people are having the same idea and they're coming together and then they build. And that to me is so exciting, right? And these are the conversations. Again, I love to zoom out to this place of, okay, I get it. It sucks. And let's have the conversation about what do we need and how do we build? And many people aren't there yet, and that's okay. But those that are like having the conversations and then taking the actions.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like atoms, right? It's like, there's two little atoms just like floating around, and all of a sudden, like when you're actually out there moving or looking for something to be able to share like what it is you want to bring into the world, then you find another atom that is also like wanting to share. And it's like, then you just, right? Like there's some energy there. I'm not a physicist, but I know when two atoms come together, when they collide, creates, right? It's bigger than the sum of the parts.
I love all these analogies. So we're all in the right room because I'm a word person too. I'm like a word geek as well. And for our systems engineers and our coders out there, those ones and zeros make programs that run the world. 1 and 0. That's it. And this is the base of technology that is now consuming all conversations. You know, there's power in recognizing your own personal power in building community and collectives. So I would say for anyone sitting out there going, because I can even hear it in my head, it sounds real easy, but I'm out here by myself. Okay, you're clearly listening to a podcast, so you can go into the comments section and look for anyone who has made the same comment or a similar comment to what you are feeling, and you have just started building community. There is your first step, right? It is as simple as a comment, and it might be online if that's what you need to do to start a conversation, but that is your power and that is your choice. You don't have to be alone. You can choose to find, even if it's one, because that one turns into 3, that 3 turns exponential. Like, y'all don't start with the math, right? Like those exponents. So just recognizing that you have choice, that you have power. I know that there's a rather sensitive saying, right? Like we should not make permanent decisions based on temporary circumstances. If you are alone in a moment, it is a moment. Keep pushing. You got another moment coming right on up to find that community that you need, or build it, right? Like, if you go looking and you can't find it, build it. Make yourself a Facebook page of one and see who joins. Promote your page.
I find as humans, we overcomplicate everything. We're complex. So I think it is in our nature to overcomplicate. And yes, systems building is not easy. And it starts with a simple act. If you had one wish for humanity right now, what would it be?
The same wish I have for myself, to adopt rest as a readiness strategy. I might be a systems engineer. I have not engineered that one. Productivity is my personal drug. And I know that we live in this capitalist society where do, create, produce, commodify. And, I've climbed and I've built and I'm part of that system indoctrinated into my spirit. And I would gift humanity what I would gift myself. Rest is a strategy. It is part of our human existence, and we have been trained into fighting it to become part of this individual ruggedness thing that we never were meant to be part of. So, right, I drank the Kool-Aid, and now I got to figure out my life before it is over. We literally think we should work from teenagers to 70s. Where do we get to live, right? Like that. That is what I would gift humanity. Some rest.
Amen.
Yeah. And in that, Krystal, I heard like it's never too late to start, right? Like we're all, right, got sucked up into that great big vacuum of capitalism, patriarchy. Like we were all there, and that's okay. Right. Like, let's not dwell on that. Let's not beat ourselves up over that we got sucked into the system, because it was the water that we're in and the air that we breathe. And when it's time to make a different choice, like then it's time to make a different choice. Like then it's just your time, right? Just act on that, and don't carry too much emotional cement boots, right? That keep you stuck. You get to take those off and carry on.
But I also want to say for my productivity folks out there who are going, work-life balance, what? Because I love what I do. I get that too, right? It is a choice. I would wish rest on us as a readiness strategy, and that is not my reality. I could choose to lean into learning all of that, but I like what I do. And I've chosen not to make that pivot, but to keep on keeping on because I enjoy what I'm doing. And yes, it is system constructed, but I understand that. And this is real empowerment. I can choose to keep doing what I'm doing, or I can choose to rest. I can choose to be a stay-at-home mom. I think they call them trad wives or something now, right? Yeah. I think there's like this trend of like the traditional wife. You can choose to do what you want. You can choose to go and work. You can choose to do it in the middle. Like, y'all, nobody gets to make your personal life choice for you. You make that inside yourself, and then you negotiate with your community and your society, etc. And that just starts with practicing that. Say yes, say no to yourself. And I choose to say yes to work and no to rest today, but I'm aware that I'm making a choice that might not be the healthiest, but boy, am I having fun right now.
That agency starts with awareness, right? We can, we when we have that awareness, we get to make the choice. We always have that available to us, by the way. We always have that. It doesn't matter what level of awareness you have. The minute you're aware of whatever, now you can make the choice. Because you're already making the choice. You just aren't aware you're making the choice, right? Yeah. Krystal, this has been an absolute wonderful conversation. I so appreciate you coming on and having it and sharing your wisdom with us, but also our listeners, and teaching us so much as in the process.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This has just been such a fun chat. And again, I hope it's been helpful to someone who's out there listening.
Absolutely. I was listening and it was helpful to me. And so check that box. It's a win.
Thank you. I love that.
Krystal, if folks want to continue the conversation, where can they find you and connect with you?
So LinkedIn primarily is really the only social media that I use. And I am Professor Rawls, Rawls, on LinkedIn. So feel free to tap in and learn about my wins, because my department is actually the Workforce Integration Network. It literally spells win.
Oh, love it. Love it. Yeah. And thanks, Kim. Thanks, Krystal, for such a great conversation today. And thank you, listener, for tuning in. I hope you did walk away with a win today and took a nugget with you.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care. Bye for now. And that's all for this week's episode of the Empowered and Embodied Show. We hope today's episode has sparked something within you. Remember, we're all on this journey together. If something did resonate with you today, why not share it with a friend who might need to hear it too? You can find us everywhere you listen to podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're feeling generous, leave a review. Your feedback not only helps others find the show, but also helps us understand what's most valuable to you. Until next time, be kind to yourself, stay curious, and remember, we're walking right alongside you. Thanks for being part of our community.